All right, America's Strongest Woman in 2024 is coming up. Same prize money for the men as it is for the women, with $20,000 going to first. But there's only 4 women that are signed up for this show. We're going to use Project Datum to look at these athletes, and then it begs the question, why aren't we seeing more competitors at a show like this? All right, so thanks for joining us, everybody. We're going to be doing a review of America's Strongest Woman 2024 here for the show. I had Angelica Jardine, who is the current Arnold Classic champion, U.S. champion, that's getting ready for the Rogue Invitational. I got a chance to sit down with her for a few hours here to look over the roster, to analyze the data that's coming out of Project Datum, and to get her insight on this. I really appreciate her input, and shout out to you, Angelica. I really appreciate that. And of course, she's getting ready for her shows, and so I'll be just doing the review over here today. Really excited about who's showing up, but I'm even more surprised by how many are not showing up for this show. I think it's something that needs to be discussed, and especially when we are working hard, as myself as a promoter of the longest standing pro-am currently in the country with the Rainier Classic, along with promoters around the world. What does it say, right? When there's a show that's giving $20,000, they're matching prize money for both men and for women at a show like this. And the men, there's going to be, I can't remember the roster off the top of my head, but I think it's over 10 at least. We just did a review on it. I feel like I should remember that. But we have 4 women that have signed up for America's Strongest Woman. So we're going to go over those athletes and those scorecards, but yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think it's something that we need to discuss here in the future. But for now, let us focus on these athletes, and we're going to be going both over the open as well as the middleweights as well that are going to be competing at the same show. And so we're going to start with the highest scorecard here, and we're going to go down, highest data score down to the lowest. And so first of all, we're going to start with Olga Lyshik. So Olga has been a mainstay in the sport for a very long time. I really am excited for her. Once again, I apologize. We are in the beta test for this tool, and so I know that age at the top, those are automated inputs that usually bring in height, weight, and age, so bear with us on that. But a TAPA score of 88 and a data score of 83.91, definitely puts her in the elite category for women right now in the world. There's really no weaknesses when it comes to Olga. Grip, if anything, is one thing, but honestly, she's been very consistent from that perspective. Angelica last year for America's Strongest Woman, I mean, it was a dogfight between her and Olga there at the end, and Angelica ended up pulling it out right there at the end with power stairs. Olga is definitely my favorite amongst the 4 women that are coming to this show. And Olga honestly should still be considered, one of the best in the sport today. I'm really excited that she's taking this contest seriously. And I do think that the next athlete's going to give her a run for her money. So let's talk about Nadia Stowers. Nadia Stowers, actually, from a historical perspective, very close to Olga. And also, Nadia is one of the more undersized women in the sport today, has competed in the most open categories for any woman that's her size over, very recent history over the past 4 or 5 years. It's one thing I love about her is that she doesn't shy away from those shows. In fact, she definitely thrives off of that. Very similar statistics here to Olga. Has a little bit of a struggle when it comes to push-pull events. I think specifically for America's Strongest Woman, I think this is a show that is right up her alley from an athletic perspective. And I do think that if Olga does slip up on 1 or 2 events, I do think Nadia will catch her. So I think it is a dogfight between these 2 athletes to be able to take first and second. Either way, it's going to be, it's going to be great. So next up here, we got Rebecca Strong, relatively new pro in the sport. Rebecca is also married to Levi, another pro strongman. And Rebecca, not a lot of data yet on her because she's just new to the scene. And so, but so far what she's done after competing for 1 year, she's getting on the map as far as when it comes to push-pull events like arm over arm. She's a killer when it comes to that. or vehicle push or anything like that. Loading as well as medley work, she's got a decent score. Rebecca, I have a lot of respect for her coming and doing this because there is no better way to gain experience and to learn than to come to a show like this where you have an Olga, you have a Nadia, and you get a chance to compete with these women and to be able to learn from them, to be able to get mentored in the back behind the scenes. That is a very important part of the sport that I think is missing today, where we definitely see it on the women's side as well as the men, honestly. A lot of picking and choosing what shows they're going to do based off who's going to show up. In my opinion, show up, learn, get better. But I also understand, it takes work to be able to travel and stuff like that. But if you're wanting to be a pro in a sport, if you want to take it seriously, if you want to make a living off it in the future, I think that's a very important piece of it. But really excited to see her compete. And then we also have, I don't have any data. I didn't have a data card to be able to pull for, I'm going to get her first name wrong, and I apologize, Liana Brown. So she got her pro card here recently. And the last event that I've got for her is doing 2022 Arnold Worlds, where she came in 5th out of 11th. So very respectable. From what I've heard from her, she's a very well-rounded athlete. I think we're going to see for the first time here at this show, where's her peaks and where's her valleys when it comes to each one of these categories. So I am excited to do a post review of this show and then be able to pull a scorecard for the first time, honestly, for her. And we'll be able to use this show as a way to kind of, see, maybe we could see a trend for the future based off of that. So that right there is the open women. I think once again, guys, first place is going to walk away with $20,000. And the way that they're doing it this year is they're spreading out the prize money across all places, right? So for men, it's going to be $20,000 for first, and then it's like $600 or something like that for whoever's in last or something like that. The same thing's going to happen here, except because 4 people are coming, I think like last is going to get $5K. I really do. I really do struggle with understanding why that we have nobody showing up for America's Strongest Woman, but we had so many people, so many great U.S. women competitors show up at the Shaw, where there's arguably more exposure, sure, but there was no prize money. There was no, I'm just really curious. I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts from a community perspective on why you think this is the case. It definitely confuses me, especially as someone who's really tried hard to provide as much opportunity for women in the sport as possible. All the way back to our early days of the Rainier 2021, we were the first contest to ever prize match for both men and women in Pro-Am. And so really curious to see what you guys have to say about that. But let's go ahead and talk about the middleweight women as well. And once again, we have 4 athletes that are competing. We'll go ahead and start with, like I said, the highest data score, and we'll go down from there. So obviously the favorite for the show, Erin Murray. She works out of Dungeon here with us locally. Erin has been competing in strong woman for a little over 10 years, but has been competing in the international scene from a big show perspective over the past 5 years. Erin is one of those that she's the ultimate gamer. She is the ultimate cerebral athlete when it comes to these events. There's nobody really, she's at least in the top realm of people that are able to adjust on the fly in an event in order to perform well, which is a very tough thing to do for a lot of athletes in the sport. And she is the only woman to have ever won a world title in 2 different weight classes. Not only is she the only woman that has done it, but she's also, no man has done that as well. And so she's definitely had a lot of accomplishments. She's very well-rounded. She's healthy. She's got no injuries. I think for especially how athletic of a show this is, it is a no-brainer for her with a TOPA score of 88 and 85.97. Erin is the clear favorite and is also my favorite to be able to win at this show. The one other athlete I think in this lineup of 4 that's going to give her a run for her money is Summer Johnson. Now, Summer has done some incredible things here recently. She currently pulled a record deadlift, which is incredible. I believe it was 660. Please don't quote me on that. But an incredible feat of strength. Because what she's accomplished on the PSL scene as well. She had a big win there recently. She's, because of her tapas being 82, and her data score actually went up from her tapas based off the information I had to find outside of the tool. So putting her around like an 84. So I think Summer is an up and comer. I think she's somebody, she's got no lingering, she's had a couple of minor injuries in the past, but I do think that if Erin slips up in anything, I think Summer's going to be right on her tail. So, and I'm honestly really excited to see her compete as well. Next up here, we have Jessica Mitchell. Jessica Mitchell has been around the sport for a very long time. Has definitely had some, some adversity in different events that she's done, but she's always consistently shown up in most shows, always at least being middle of the pack or winning or podium. Obviously, it makes no surprise to me that from a push-pull perspective, she has a 94 and a grip push-pull, she has a score of 100 and a grip score of 94. I mean, she's basically unbeatable when it comes to those events, especially when she's been featured. And so, once again, really good athlete coming in here, but as far as not as well-rounded as Summer and as Erin, Summer Johnson is and as Erin Murray is. So, she is one of those that could surprise us, but from what we see from a trend perspective, 80 TAPA, 79.75, no real injuries that I know about. And then our last athlete here, Erin Walklett. I didn't really know much about Erin before doing some research on her and then putting her through the tool. She was third in the 2023 ASW, America's Strongest Woman under 82. And that was the year that Erin Murray won it. And she podiumed with Erin. Don't have a lot of information as she's only, she's been competing for a long time, but she's definitely had some time off in between events, especially here recently. So I don't have a lot of data on her, but from what I've been able to see, pressing is definitely not her strong suit. But when it comes to athletic loading or carrying events, she is phenomenal. Really, really, really good athlete. From an athletic perspective, she might actually rival even Erin as far as like athletic is concerned, but I definitely once again give the cerebral and the grit over to Erin Murray. But Erin Walklett, is definitely gonna. I'm excited to see her compete because this will be the first time I get to see her in person compete. But if I'm looking at open women versus middleweight women for these two shows, I really am. I'm pretty excited about the 4 women that showed up for middleweight. But so really short, video here just because there's just not a lot of competitors, but. Once again, I'm just really surprised at a show like this. Personally, I think America's Strongest title is something that we need to bring back as far as a prestige perspective. I know that James Deffenbaugh and Lynn taking over Strongman Corp this year, they're cleaning up a lot. They're bringing up the production for a lot of these shows, especially for pros. And this is the pro show for, getting your pro card. It's almost like your introduction to the scene. And so I definitely am excited to see more athletes come and compete in this in the future. But what are your thoughts? Who else would you have liked to have seen at this show? Is there anything on the data that's sticking out to you? I'd be curious from that perspective, but I'll be flying out tomorrow to watch this show myself, and then I'll do a post review of this. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you next time.